For this final session, we're going to really focus on a strength of the kingdom. I would say often we give advice to our entrepreneurs back at home, and we say focus on things that you love, focus on your areas of strength, and it never feels like like work. It's always fun. So if you think nationally, the Saudis are the energy leaders of the world, and so finishing off in the area of strength with a distinguished panel, we're going to discuss entrepreneurial energy ventures, or the future, what could be done. I thought maybe to seed the discussion, we encourage the audience to ask questions from this. This is a panel discussion. The audience is very much a part of the discussion. But just to kick things off, I thought I would ask a question of each of the speakers. I'll start with Wasim. And if you could answer the question in a few minutes, then we'll go through the whole panel, and then we'll open it up to broader questions. So my question to you is, what are the major opportunity areas in the development of energy ventures from your vantage point in Saudi Aramco entrepreneurship?
Okay, guys, can you hear me? I appreciate the question. Actually, I'm very lucky with WAG, because one of the things that we do when it comes to energies, I have a good friend of mine, Majid Mufti. You heard a remarkable presentation from him, and his team is doing remarkable things in that space. So I'm going to address that question from WAG's point of view, with how what we do for the local entrepreneurs. Unfortunately, I personally don't feel, ironically, that in venture capital or entrepreneurship we do enough in sponsoring and supporting energy ventures from WAD point of view. Luckily we have our assistant department do that. But the opportunities are there. We've always been carrying towards something a little bit diversified from the oil and gas and energy. So obviously our portfolio is going to be majority away from that. But there's a lot of opportunity. The problem is, just like the great presentation of Abdul Wahab, people are, for some reason, just following what other people are doing. But there's so much opportunity, but you need that expertise, that technical expertise. What I've seen in WAD just in a few years is entrepreneurs wanting to really open up barbershops and hamburger joints and things of that sort. While if you just look about the expertise that you look at, the people who retire, like you heard in this presentation, from the oil and gas business, how many people have actually started companies after they've graduated from SABIC or retired from Aramco, all the social. That's why I'm saying the opportunities it's humongous, because they have the expertise. We've got a lot of know-how, we've got a lot of resources, and we've got plenty of money to fund. Don't ever think there's not enough money to fund. I think we're very blessed, and especially why we have barely even scratched the surface with money. But the opportunities are there. But what I'm telling the colleagues, and I'm really excited about hearing your questions if you have any, is that we're not really looking at the opportunities. You're looking at for something a little bit easier and what you understand. So with opportunities, either you have the expertise or you should get that technical expertise. As you saw from the Web's presentation, you can go a long way just in a few years on just looking at the energy ventures, what I feel is untouched when it comes to SMEs. Maybe in the large corporation, there's plenty. I got this whole DTV, you have the biggest names around you. And even then, I ask my colleagues who are with me, all the Schlumberger and Halliburton, Aramco, how much are we collaborating together truly? We're still not there yet, right? So already expecting for the large corporation, even the SMEs, So my answer is, there's a lot of opportunity, but we really require you guys to dig and ask those questions and ask yourselves, what's missing in the kingdom? We also are missing a lot of data in the kingdom. We don't have enough information from some of the unique projects. For the typical commodity business, we have plenty, but we lack that. And so, hopefully, with SME Authority and other people, and with the help of SABIC and Aramco, if we come up with a good database, we can give a lot more opportunities as well for people in this space of energy in the kingdom. That's my thoughts on that.
Well, thank you very much. For Dr. Salah Al-Essa?
No, it's not Salah, it's Moyed Sadoun. I'm replacing Salah. He's my boss.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so.
I apologize.
It's okay.
I'm still going to give you his question.
Okay, that's fine.
So what talent development, in the previous talk, we heard really a very unique trajectory, a very unique development of talent throughout his life. But from your viewpoint in SABIC, what talent development is most needed to best capitalize on emerging energy ventures?
Actually, this is a really good question, because I am the global technical learning leader for SABIC, and therefore it is my field of And like my friend says here, I think there's a problem, so I'll hold in. Like my friend says here, actually, this guy is so smart. He spelled all the issues at one answer. But really, and what happened, we are living in a silo. And this is our issue. Everybody has his own silo. Nobody knows what is happening. For example, in Aramco, I am from Sabic, he's from Aramco. I don't have much knowledge about, Aramco's development and research and opportunities. And this is creating a silo that is really represent a major barrier in our development for people to develop. And I mean, I'll give you an example, and you will be shocked if I tell you, Sadaf company burning hydrogen enough to lighten the whole of Jubail. Yet we are burning it, and the reason is, because really we have the SMEs, right? We have the resources, like my friend said here, but yet we are not able to utilize these opportunities. Like, for example, and the reason is because of the information. My friend says here is totally right. The knowledge, we are living in a silo. Everybody is living in his own world, and he's creative. He's the best in the world. Actually, Sabic is the fourth petrochemicals in the world, and we are very proud of it. Yet we could be the first if we combine with Aramco and Ma'adin and other companies. With regard to the development, I need to go back to the question, because really we are going through the development in a generic manner, i.e., I mean, for people to develop, they need to know where the gaps are. And for example, in Sabic, we have a system called the competency model. We have a competency model through which an employee goes through a very extensive process in identifying what knowledge they need. And in doing so, he will be able to pinpoint exactly what he needs to be developed. So really, this is another thing that we need to look into in order to be able to, to develop ourselves. Sabic also has the social responsibility and things like that, and we are sponsoring some chairs in different universities. One of them is related to the entrepreneurship. So really, we are doing our best. We consider ourselves as a global company with the local dimension. Even if you go to Holland or you will see and you will feel Sabic in that city. And this is really something that we are proud of, and really this is. My answer is, we are not very specific in our development, and this is what we need. Is we need to really to pinpoint what we need in order to develop ourselves accordingly.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'll turn to the dean, Dr. Abdulaziz El Kabi, and ask him how can advanced technologies. His background is both at the university in the beginning. Went to Aramco for 14 years, and now he's back. So the reason I ask this question is because he has experience on both sides. So how can advanced technology best support the development of energy ventures?
Thank you, Joe. It's a pleasure to be here, by the way. Well, energy ventures are really heavily based on new technologies. And because of that, I mean, they rely heavily on innovation in that space of technology. If we are not strong in that area, then there is a challenge. And those who are working on energy ventures, they know how much innovation and development is hard. In fact, if we look at the Forbes Middle East ranking of the 50 promising startups in the region, we'll find only 6% of these startups are focusing on energy ventures, which is a very small number. But that's understandable, because these startups, they serve the needs of sophisticated customers. And because of that, they need a lot of innovation, a lot of technology. Now, if you look at the kingdom at large, and if you look at some of the indicators, like the Global Innovation Index, for example, the kingdom has potential. In fact, has a strong potential when it comes to innovation. But if we look at the makeup of this index and you look at the challenges, you'll find that the output of the scientific output, which is based on technology and innovation, has a lot of room to advance here. So definitely technology is a must, especially in energy ventures. A lot of innovation is needed. And within the ecosystem of Dhahran here, there is a lot is happening. And the Dhahran Techno Valley, the Institute of Entrepreneurship. And I have to say that two entrepreneurs that I'm very proud of is His Excellency Director of the university and His Excellency now the Minister of Energy, who was the CEO of Aramco. They teamed together and built a vision. And the vision is to establish the College of Petroleum Engineering and Geosciences, which is technology will be really the foundation and focus of this knowledge. Not only in the undergraduate education, building a very strong research model, but we are moving all the way till commercialization, teaming up with the EI and educating our students from the grassroots to really become entrepreneurs and contribute to the economy of Saudi Arabia. And just to maybe conclude, technology, competency, being strong in the technology area and the innovation is a must to do strong startups and venture, in energy ventures. And I'll leave it there.
Thank you very much. My next question is for Dr. Whale. What entrepreneurial programs can be scaled to support Saudi Vision 2030 energy ventures? It's a very ambitious document, so if I challenge you to think big, how would you answer?
Thank you, Joe, for this question, and I would like to start by quoting, I say by director once. I had an interview with him regarding the strategy for the EI for the coming, 40 years. And he said, we want to focus on developing service energies and, serve the economy at all levels, but it's our destiny as a university to focus on energy and energy ventures. And I think the Tehran Techno Valley and the innovation cluster building and the vision that the leadership of this university has put 10 years back is a witness of what the university is looking forward. And I think, in my opinion, we have all the right ingredients and components that will help us achieve the aspirations of our leaders in the country, and also, tap into an untapped, opportunity, which is basically our young people over here. I've been seeing the forum now. This is the 4th year. This is the first time we see questions coming from students who are attending the forum, and getting inspired even from the speakers. And we see a lot of students coming over here. We started to interact with the Dhahran Techno Valley tenants. But honestly, I need to see more of interaction. I think being a double E, working on geophysics and seeing a lot of opportunities. We used to tell students in our classes that if you bring 2 tools, the smartest device in the world, like a smartphone, for example, and a logging tool, a simple logging tool, put them in conditions like an oven, 5,000 PSI and 200 or like 300 degrees of Celsius, which one will operate? Which one of high tech? So they wonder, and they start to say, no, this will melt. This will, will become something like, unuseful. I tell them, like, those tools will work in such rough conditions. Now, where is the industry from this? Where is our tenants, into inspiring also our entrepreneurs with such technologies? I expect more from the tenants. Of course, we have been started to work with them, and I appreciate their efforts, but I really expect more from them to help us also build, programs, that will be specialized, and that open opportunities for, our students, and also the 2030 scholarship program the director has mentioned this morning, to open energy ventures, or at least think about such opportunities. So I think we have now hired even 2 full-time petroleum engineers at the EI, and we are thinking about having a specified track in energy And I think my colleague, Dr. Iyad, Dr. Muhammad, and myself, have been thinking a long time ago that we should have even a specialized incubator in energy, particularly oil and gas, upstream all the way to the downstream. SABIC now is moving to the Techno Valley, 40,000 square meters. Sadara, we have been talking to Sadara a lot, which is a joint venture between Aramco and Dow Chemicals. I think the third derivatives or the derivatives of basically the downstream products, we have massive opportunities for our entrepreneurs. I'll leave it there.
Okay, thank you very much. And then to round out the question, to start off the session, for Craig Smith, who's the CEO of Dhahran Valley Technology Development Company, how can university-affiliated clusters, such as the DTV, best help existing companies to innovate and catalyze startups in energy ventures?
So thank you for that question, Joe. And I have to say that here in Dhahran Techno Valley, I truly believe we have perhaps the world's greatest collection of energy, R&D, energy-focused companies operating in the science park. There's 12, 13, 14 companies and growing. We have one of the most esteemed and established universities, technical universities across the Middle East, if not the world by many measurements. And we have the world's largest oil company, and by valuation measurements, it's the world's largest company right at our doorstep. We have these great, outstanding components. We also have plenty of students, entrepreneurs, but we have a lot of work to do. It's not a given. It is not a given to put great institutions side by side, bring great companies such as those in the science park, and expect a natural collaboration and partnership happen. There's a lot of work. A lot of people in this room have contributed a tremendous amount of work. So as you've heard from Dr. Weil and many of the other panelists here, there's plenty of work to be had. And I'm enthusiastic. I'm very bullish about what will happen over the next 5 years. But I want to take a quick visit to some of the issues that we have on hand here. The companies operating in our science park, by nature, operate at a level of proprietary measure. They're in business for a reason. They have shareholders. They're developing value for their customers. And they have proprietary technology. So that's a challenge with the university. The university has tremendous assets, tremendous talent, but it doesn't always map into industry. So we have a great challenge ahead of us and a great opportunity to align the vision of the university programs from basic to applied research to where applied research takes off into real productization of the companies. A lot of work to be done there. I do want to call out companies that are very specific in promoting this on the entrepreneurship, on the energy ventures plane. Yokogawa, for example, and Schlumberger, who are represented here, they take the mentorship and they take the working with Saudis and developing Saudi talent to heart, and they live it and breathe it, and it shows in our science park. We have a lot of opportunities to tap in, including CSR, corporate social responsibility, and as Dr. Weil said, or one of the speakers, Dr. Kavi said, we want to draw the entrepreneurs out. We have a lot of great students, a lot of great folks involved in our ecosystem that have graduated or are not part of KFUPM, but they're here, and there's a level of carefulness, of risk, maybe risk avoidance or fear of risk that some of the speakers have talked about. We want those entrepreneurs to take a risk. And they need to do that in unison with the science park tenants we have and the university and programs like the EI that are fostering this. So I would say we're just at the starting line. We have incredible capability, outstanding companies and academia here at our forefront. And I envision 5 years from now that this will be the location of choice globally for universities, for companies, to send their interns, their students here for summer programs, for short programs, because this will be the epicenter of energy venture research. But we are so far, we have so much to go, so far to travel to get there. It's a great opportunity, and everyone in this room should be happy that they're at this starting point right now.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So if I reflect on all five of your answers, we've got SME experimentation, perhaps. We've got talent development, especially being interdisciplinary and crossing silos. Right? We've got advanced technology, and it's a must if you're going to be successful. And we've got to have vision. We've got to be ambitious, and we've got to take the programs we have and use them to the maximum. And then to add, finally, what Craig said is you've got tremendous potential with existing companies. How can you get over some of the barriers that you have for proprietary and so forth, and have them work together and work with the other actors and bring people from the world into that stage. So that's a very good start. What I'd like to do now is turn it maybe to the audience and have them ask this distinguished panel of speakers maybe some questions. Okay, let's start over here, please.
Thank you, gentlemen, panelists. Great perspective, but we all still see the silos, and we see the elements that make up an entrepreneurial ecosystem that are still separated, and the synergy level is way, way below the required, where we know that we can make this place or this country or this economy the source of entrepreneurial energy ventures. What are we doing to, let's say, publicize or share the challenges so we will have ventures that solve the problems rather than solutions that look for problems? Aramco, SABIC, KFUPM, DTV tenant companies to share and synergize their challenges so entrepreneurs, young and old minds like mine, would be able to look at problems and find out or find the solutions. The retired knowledge base, and I don't like to call it retired, but it is an idle, untapped in, huge knowledge base. Are we doing anything to actually utilize, if not to chip in with the knowledge and the experience, at least identify challenges or guide the young entrepreneurs? Is Aramco, KFUPM, SABIC, SEC, and all of these stakeholders in the economy and in the society, are they collaborating in the entrepreneurial playground? Are we complementing or are we continuing to compete? Synergy needs to be higher. So I wonder who or all of the panelists, how would they add to the synergy level?
That's a tough question.
I want to start, if you don't mind. So, for us, we realized 3 years back that only a few tenants of the Valley, for example, were collaborating, Yokogawa, Halliburton, and we managed now to get, with the help of the Atlantic Valley Company, especially the efforts of Craig and my team over here, to visit like those tenants in summer, and we started to invite them coming to our classes. Now, one of the things that we propose to them is that we don't want to tap into your research, and we don't care if you want to give us a problem, that you want in your research, but just tell us what products you are using in the field, for example, that you are importing from China, for example. We'll do it over here. And take with us the responsibility, to help nurture our students or our entrepreneurs to develop these products for you over here. Now, none of the companies who came and gave us, problems, honestly, they gave us something, so they're clear. So, and we don't know, you are our customers, and we need to also understand what are the things that you can, or you want our students to work on and develop. And it needs only one successful story, and then I think we're going to have a dominoes effect. This is my point of view to address like this, the silos breaking. So.
My question is really on a national, holistic level rather than on a science park resident company level. If we still think small, we remain small, and I appreciate that we will have presentations. Think big.
Any other?
Yeah, I mean, we in SABIC now embarking on social responsibility, and really, I don't know whether you've heard in the news and NBC and things like that. We discovered that we have a really considerable knowledge in the leadership. And therefore, we called all ministries. Anybody who needs to be trained in leadership, they are more than welcome. And we established a program, for the leadership. The other day, I was in Riyadh at the beginning of this week. I was teaching the military the leadership on how to do, how to say safety leadership. We made a really very nice idea that came out. A functional leadership, i.e., for example, process safety leadership or reliability leadership. So we identify what are the behavior required for that, for something, and then we design the leadership around that functionality. And so really what we are doing, we are trying to break the silo. And the Ministry of Industry, actually, they are doing well as well. And they already asked us, for example, about less than a month ago, we were involved with Modern, how to develop their system, how to develop their, their safety. And Aramco, by the way, they were there. So now these large, the biggest employers in the country is actually mainly Aramco, SABIC, and there are other companies, the private sector. These guys are moving to, they are taking the initiative to go and break the silo and join, so that we can, because then after all, anybody who will come from there, coming to SABIC or coming from SABIC to go there, he will need the synergy that you said. And therefore, really, social responsibility can do something. The government initiatives, the Ministry of Industry is pushing towards that, and we are being put in a corner. You either cooperate or you're not. You will be hated, and therefore we don't want to be hated.
Yeah, thanks for the great question. Other questions?
I'd like to respond if I could. To
good,
this.
please, Greg.
Me too.
Oh, okay.
So I want to answer this both from Science Park perspective, so that's local, and also nationally, as Ahmed had mentioned. From a Science Park perspective, I'm going to take the contrarian point of view of my colleague, Dr. Weil, and challenge the university, KFUPM, the academic programs, the professors, the PIs, the students, to understand industry problems, to understand from an industry perspective. Because companies, I'll just put it very straightforward, companies don't care about basic research. It doesn't contribute to their bottom line. It contributes to their CSR. If they're open enough to develop a platform for that, that's fine. But they want solutions to pain points that will allow their innovation path to develop. And if I see any area for immediate improvement, it would be to bring the academic programs, chairmans and faculty to real industry workshops focused on technical problems and solutions. So there's just to be contrarian, that's what panels are for. To take it to a national perspective, there's a couple things that need to happen in a global or in a national platform, and these are clearly articulated in Vision 2030. There needs to be empowerment and more transparency, such as, for example, across the world, university professors, university faculty can partake in founding a business, participate in a business, not just be a consultant, but be transparent owners of businesses that they founded based on university technology. They can license it back. It creates an opportunity. That opportunity isn't here, and that stymies the ability for startups to really generate. There's another element too. There's a disparity. It's not easy to register a company in Saudi Arabia compared to, say, Bahrain or Singapore or in the United States. And this needs to become easier and more accessible for both Saudis and non-Saudis. As non-Saudis come in and start businesses, if they're KFUPM students or graduates of Saudi institutions, they should be able to start businesses easily in Saudi Arabia, which will then generate opportunities for Saudis and become a global hub for entrepreneurship. And that has to happen through Vision 2030.
We're going to have all the panelists
Yeah.
weigh in. Please.
Yeah, just to follow up, I agree with Greg. I think should not avoid getting the students more and more toward the real problems and challenges. That's definitely a requirement for them to be aware of what's going on. But talking about universities, and of course, one of the role of the universities is to one of their important products is the graduates, and definitely entrepreneurs are coming from universities. From my personal opinion, I think the approach also to how we teach students should be unconventional if we want to produce entrepreneurs with the right skills. I mean, early on we heard about the teaming between finance and petroleum engineering, and that kind of interdisciplinary approach is very important, especially in solving big challenges. If you want to solve big challenges, you cannot put yourself in a silo. I am a petroleum engineer or electrical engineer, or you need really to bring brains together and try to solve problems together from the beginning. And that kind of education is creeping into KFUBM, but we are not yet at a very mature stage. In the college, petroleum engineering and geosciences, I guess we brought the two relevant disciplines, geosciences and petroleum engineering, under one roof. Our programs are integrated. Our research is integrated. Even our offices are intermingled. They are not divided into departments. You have geoscientists, a geologist, petroleum engineer, geophysicist, and soon we'll have a chemist.
And maybe a double E.
A double E. You're welcome to come. And it's really the way how we teach things to our students, and breaking the silos, as Ahmed mentioned, is very important. It cannot be done except by going to the way we bring those young graduates from the grassroots up.
Well, I have a slightly different perspective. I'm not an organizational behavior psychologist. Maybe if I were, I would be able to answer questions about silos, because they exist in even the smallest of organizations. But I will tell you something from my personal experience, and I hope that rings a bell to most of you. I'm not convinced that we're going to be breaking silos by institutionally. I don't think it's going to be SABIC and Aramco that are going to break the silos. I think it's going to be yourself and myself, myself and Dr. Wa'il Musa, people like Trey Giri who go above and beyond to help out entrepreneurs. It's about individuals working for the academic institution. It's individually that we can work together. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I don't feel that we continue to go to these big conferences and talk from company to company. We're going to break the silos. The DTV is a great start. The college the doctor is talking about is a great start. The fact that Our Excellency Dr. Khaled Falh is actually the Minister of All Energy, combining all those, that there's a great start at the national level. But still, I work with a lot of those industries. It's still huge silos. It's individuals. It's individual you know in SME authorities. It's individual you know in the MOKI. It's individual you know in WAD. So I really hope that we think individually, get each other's cards, and sincerely want to be good friends and colleagues, because that's, I think, the only way we're going to break the silos. And we invite you to dinner tonight. Maybe you can help us break the silos tonight.
Got all 5 of the panelists' answers. That's a good question. Let's get another question. Oh,
Yeah, I have 2 questions. The first question to Mr. Craig. You talk about the group of companies, the big companies all here in the valley, Dahran Valley. My question is, what the potentials that we are missing comparing to Silicon Valley when it started? If you want to talk about Dahran Valley or, for example, Coast Valleys, in general, the valleys in Saudi. Okay. Second question is to Mr. Wasim. How does WAD program or WAD Center intersect with Aramco Ventures? Yeah. Thank you very much.
So I'll start on the first question. With regard to the Dahran Techno Valley, silos is a consistent word and a theme, no different than anything else we've been talking about this afternoon. And Wasim's response to that is it's on an individual development basis, breaking down the barriers. We have common challenges that we face, and so bringing competitor to competitor together on facing common challenges of importing talent, visa issues, chemical importation, infrastructure issues, it doesn't matter if it's your competitor or your supplier. In fact, if you look at many companies in Silicon Valley, each other's competitors are also their biggest suppliers and partners. And we'd like to promote and push that mindset, and it's a slow process. We're doing that. If I had the ability and the time and the budget, I would have a reception in this building every single Thursday afternoon for networking with our tenants, and perhaps one day we'll get there. Breaking down I'm sorry, I got off on a tangent. Tell me the core of your question one more time, please.
The things that will make us.
Yeah, so what we're missing here, we have the great silos, big oil companies and very name brand companies, great institution. We're missing what I call the white space, filling in with entrepreneurship, filling in with small businesses. In our science park here alone, we have very minimal small business representation. We don't have a building devoted to multi-use tenant who can come and open. Maybe they operate 6 months. We don't have an entrepreneur mill. We don't have a deal flow at the level that Silicon Valley does. We have the components. We have the government support, as Silicon Valley did. We have funding. We have institutions. We have great companies. But what needs to fill out is the distributors, the suppliers, the vendors, all of the small and mid-sized companies, the entrepreneur ability, and we're working on that. For example, in the field of mentorship has been discussed a lot throughout this entire day. It's a cornerstone of what makes Silicon Valley successful. This is building. It's building exponentially, as I see it, just from this past year, where companies are involved, individuals, people from outside our immediate environment are now contributing to mentorship programs here. But if you ask anybody who's spent significant time in Silicon Valley, as I have for a quarter of a century, what happens is it's in the coffee shops. It's on the football fields of your son's soccer game. It's in every institution that goes around. There's a hum and people know each other and there's connections and there's networking. That is vital. Without a degree, there's no clustered ecosystem that will survive or be sustainable or grow without that network. This very forum right here is part of this network that I see starting to develop. And just like any growth curve, we're hitting an inflection point, and that's what's going to make this entire ecosystem really work.
To answer your question, I don't know if you are familiar with what we do in Aramco, but it's good to tell you where Saudi Aramco Energy Ventures and WAD reside. It resides in an organization within Saudi Aramco called New Business Development. I think it's an organization that was established by our previous president with the vision that we should leverage the resources of the kingdom, of the company, to promote economic development. And that means huge projects such as new refineries and petrochemicals, mergers and acquisitions, the maritime yard, whatever it may be. But also, even though we're a small drop in the bucket, between myself and SAVE, we have $700 million fund, and we're the tiny little piece of Aramco that does not talk about large industry. It talks about what Majid talked about, which is technologies to help Saudi Aramco. So if a technology helps Saudi Aramco and it resides somewhere internationally, they want to bring that technology and localize it here for Aramco's use. Now, we'd be privileged and hopeful that some of the WAD's projects get supported by Aramco because they're a great source of revenue and business. But we look at things that would not fall under their bucket. If you look at projects that are really Saudi-based or technology is based here by Saudi entrepreneurs or even international entrepreneurs who reside here that help the kingdom out. Ideally, something should be missing. We should be missing something here. It shouldn't be a real estate. It shouldn't be a typical restaurant. Although those are great VCs, by the way, and sometimes I wish I could invest in such companies. But it's about what's truly missing. Didn't we talk about earlier today about energy ventures and all? Whatever is truly missing is what we ideally want to fund, and that's why we haven't been able to deploy our funds. So I just wanted to let you know what's the big difference. We all complement one another. And to drill down, just to give you a flavor, WAD has a huge suite of services, by the way. It's a startup by itself. It's still going ups and downs. But in terms of funding, it has a loan arm and a venture capital. So what's the difference in that? If there's a physical asset, why not take a loan? If there's intellectual asset with higher risk, you take a venture capital because we're not taking collateral, for example. So everything should actually make sense, and I hope that kind of clarified it for you.
Down front here.
Yes, I would like to say that I disagree a little with Dr. Wael when it comes to selecting the title of this session, Entrepreneurial Energy Ventures, What Could Be Done. In Saudi, this applies to every discipline, energy, water, etc. Dr. Abdulaziz mentioned the potential of Saudi when it comes to innovation, which is not really translated into in a proportional way to economic impact. And my colleague from Yokogawa, Mr. Abdurabbo, talked about the nation. This session and this forum is not about DTV. It's about Saudi. Going back to the Global Innovation Index that Dr. Abdulaziz mentioned, Saudi Arabia is positioned 42 in terms of innovation input, positioned 56 in terms of innovation output.
Which year is this?
2016, and ranked 82 in terms of efficiency of turning innovation input to innovation output. So it's the macro environment of Saudi Arabia. It is not venturous enough. I can give you quickly 3 examples. The business environment of Saudi. Starting a business, in terms of starting a business, according to the Global Competitiveness Index, Saudi Arabia is positioned 102, the ease of doing business report, the annual ease of this. So it's not easy to start a business, and it's not easy to close a business in Saudi Arabia. The insolvency ranking is something 100 something. The number of venture deals is almost per $1 billion. It's almost in terms of hundreds of thousands of riyals rather than millions of riyals as in other countries. Practically no venture capital industry exists in Saudi. The numbers that are related to the R&D expenditures of the industry in Saudi are very small or don't exist at all. There is a good potential. There is a good industrial potential. The Global Competitiveness Index ranks Saudi industries in terms of the percentage of industries that are categorized as mid to high tech industries, 32. However, in terms of exports, technology exports, again, Saudi is above 100, which means that the country and the government has invested hugely in an industrial infrastructure, but there is no impact due to the lack of true industrial R&D investments. So the question here, which is not specific to any of our elite panelists, is how to turn the whole macroeconomic environment of Saudi into a true venturous environment. It's the financial system, it is the business model of the industry, and it is the lack of a true venture capital industry. And sorry for
It's okay. It's a big
a
question.
very long question.
Yeah.
We've got a panel that's up to the challenge, though.
No, thank you very much for the reflection. I always enjoy talking to Yad. And, 2 things. I mean, just to bring things to perspective, if you talk about entrepreneurship and look at the index that's focused on entrepreneurship, the Global Entrepreneurship Index, similar to the Global
Innovation Index.
Innovation Index. It ranks the kingdom among the top 25% countries when it comes to the attitude for entrepreneurship, the ability to do entrepreneurship, as well as aspirations to do entrepreneurship. Which is a good potential. I mean, it's there. Now the question is, what is missing? I think what is missing is the engine that generates the ideas. The output of the scientific engine. The research, the technology, that what will really make things, crank together. You do have the environment, but it's like having a highway without local traffic feeding into the highway. So the highway is there, but you need to really create the ideas that will push things through it. And the scientific output, I think as a kingdom and as a region, we have a lot to contribute to. We're not there yet.
Craig.
Yes, first I want to comment that I love Dr. Yad's approach. He's a walking encyclopedia of data, and anytime I have a presentation, if he's not on my side, there's a vacancy there. So thank you for all those statistics. My response is going to be very short. The government and the kingdom needs to drop the barriers of entry to open up entrepreneurship, make it easier to start and operate a business. That's a regulatory environment, and it can do that. And I think it's on the track to do that. But the barriers to entry to open a business and operate a business need to fall. There also needs to be bankruptcy protection laws to protect as companies exit. And when that occurs, that's going to be a major sea change in the ability to attract both local, national, and foreign investment.
Will, were you also going to?
I just want to comment that I think from a university perspective, we should be focusing on generating the right trigger to a true ecosystem in the kingdom. So who's going to be our future venture capitalists? Who's going to be our future angel investors? Who's going to be our future mentors? I'm talking about people who went and, like Abdul Wahab, what he did basically. How many Abdul Wahabs we have in the country? We need to invest in them time, we need to invest in them energy, we need to believe in them, and we need to give them all what we can, even if the government didn't yet change the policies. And then we can go to the government and tell them, here is what we lack and here is what we want, because the government at the end put the vision. And I think they are working very hard, with the SME Authority. We heard last week that they opened an opportunity for entrepreneurs who go in the economic city in the Western province, that they will get a lot of benefits just for opening businesses. So there are opportunities, but we shouldn't be just stopping by saying, we don't have this or we don't have that. I think we need to start, and even if we fail, that's okay. We learn from the failure. So that's my response.
We're going to go one more response, and I'm going to ask the student to finish up with a question. It's always good to finish with the students, so students can think about it while we get the
Okay,
answer.
that's fine. Thank you. I think a lot of you, I think I could see some of you are my student. I used to be a professor at the university. And I have interest in material engineering. And by the way, if you are in the industry, we love people like you. When you come in with numbers. If you don't come with numbers, don't talk to me, please. And really, in the industry, this is what we do. Come to me with number, I'll be gobsmacked, they call it in the British way. That we don't talk, we just keep it quiet. But really, changing the macro to micro is by grinding. So the surface area will increase. And this is how we do it. Changing the macro to micro is by grinding our effort into powders so that our surface area becomes higher. And with this will force the government and the whole financial system to adapt to whatever we do. And this is what I wanted to say. And this actually is not you may have taken it, and he sounded negative, but really he was very positive in a way that, he is telling us the opportunities is there, we are that low, we need to increase. And this should be an inspiring message for us rather than something else.
I spoke your language and you spoke my language. I'm a professor of mechanical engineering.
Oh, mashallah. Okay. Okay.
Okay, we're going to finish up the session with a question from a student.
Okay, assalamu alaikum. Muhammad Al-Mutawa from the Mechanical Engineering Department.
Good.
Okay, my question is, Mr. Helberman spoke that in the United States, private sector can own and operate in the oil industry. Here, the oil industry is already taken, the mineral industry is already taken. My question is, we have 24 industrial city, and we have heard our ranking in the worldwide where we don't have our own startup. And of course, for me, a student, for anyone who wants to start their own factory, we have 24 industrial city again. It's a difficult process, and in all honesty, we are scared to take that huge step. I'm still a student again. So when are we going to see big companies like SABIC and Aramco, instead of distributing raw material, when are we going to see them manufacture something here, manufacture vehicle parts, manufacture airplane parts? We're not seeing huge steps from you. There is a long process, a long governmental process, and that process will not get easy unless you guys, you go in and you try. You are the big guys. When you try, and when the government sees that how difficult it is for you guys to take the governmental steps to open a factory, they'll ease down. They'll start canceling few steps. They'll start making few steps easier, and then we can go in. We have heard a lot of talk about how all our startup are restaurants, are car wash. You can't blame us. I cannot go for a big startup. I cannot go for a factory. I cannot go for a company when the process is that difficult. I'm not going to risk such a huge loss. So when are we going to see you guys, instead of producing aluminium, when are we going to see you producing vehicle parts? When are we going to see you producing airplane parts? When is the huge step coming from your side so we can follow up on it? Thank you.
SABIC produces the material.
Yeah,
Provided the feedstock.
Yeah, and we also have, joint venture with GE. We are producing the latex, and we are producing. You don't have to produce a car. You produce parts of the car. By the way,
Yeah,
my
I'm not
mobile,
saying that. I'm saying
my
we
mobile
see,
here. Can you see that back there? It is made by SABIC.
Okay,
in
I
China.
understand that.
Okay.
I understand that. But when are you guys going to produce something actual? This, as much as it sells, the iPhone, I buy the iPhone for 3,000 riyal. And how much do you gain out of that 3,000? 5 riyals. Come on. That's not real business. That's you still selling raw material. When are we going to see you take that huge step? That I look at you and be like, yeah, well, they did it. They trust the country to support their factories. They trust the country to support their products. They trust that they can build something very big here. So I can trust it too. I can't trust it now. I want to produce something in Saudi Arabia, but I don't see you guys producing something in Saudi Arabia. So why would I risk it when you guys aren't?
Let me tell you something. I mean, the gentleman behind you, Mr. Abdul Wahab, he didn't, he's in the same boat as you. He started with nothing. He went to Sudan with one employee and all that. I'll tell you something else. Maybe I shouldn't say it this way, but sometimes even getting a business with Saudi Aramco, just the name itself helps a lot, brings a lot of credibility. And that's why we're very hesitant to just approve anybody that we fund them. But unfortunately, you're right. The big companies should be giving you access to business. There, I agree with you. We're not supposed to be the ones that are supposed to manufacture the cars. We're doing our jobs in our respective companies. But it's the youth, it's the other people, it's the citizens that should be doing that. And I agree with you that they have a problem accessing the business. So as a starting point, for example, bring the credibility first. Let me tell you, you're absolutely right. But from my experience, from what I've seen a lot of people don't bring that credibility with them. They bring their ideas and they bring their passion. But you got to bring that confidence they keep on hearing about. Confidence and credibility. Understand the market, study it, go learn about it. Work hard, perspire. Or is it 1% inspiration, 9% perspiration? I mean, that's what's missing. And so, I mean, it's the kingdom. I agree with you, we have a hard time. I think regulatories are so difficult. I think we give everybody a hard time giving them access to business. As a starting point, I know that the gentlemen, women, and ladies and gentlemen that work with WAHD, they go out of their way to try to help. We can't guarantee business, but you should see this in meetings with them, trying our best to get them contracts with the large corporations. It's a starting point. I know we're far behind, but I didn't want to tell you that it's a hopeless case. But you have a very good question, though. Thank you for asking that.
It's a really good question, and really, I was, in Jubal Industrial College, I was teaching there at one time. And they told me, Doctor, there are no opportunities and things like that. I told them, you can, honestly, you can manufacture a sandal, right? And it's very easy. All what you need to do is to go to the Royal Commission, ask them for a piece of land. They will give it to you for free, right? And they will provide you with all what you want with regard to the logistic. And the granule and all these plastic things are available next door to you, right? All what you need to do is to spend $65,000 to buy a molder and produce a sandal, and you will make a lot of money. Just want, because there are opportunities, you need to think about them before you can do them.
Could I just add one closing comment, unless you're taking more questions?
No, that was the last one. That was a good question. We're going to end with him.
Good. As a closing comment, I want to say the demographics of the kingdom, of this country, is extraordinary. More than 50%, 52, 53% in last year's census of this population is under the age of 25 years old. And so I applaud your question, and it is the youth of this country that is going to inherit very soon the new challenges, and without questioning it and without applying your wherewithal, we will not have the discussion that we're having here, and nothing will move forward. So it's you, it's the students, the 25-year-olds, the millennial generation that's inheriting this country, and it's an incredible opportunity. So keep it up.
As the moderator, I get to have the last word. And since that was such a great question, I'd also like to weigh in on it. So people ask me, why do you travel the whole way to Saudi Arabia to come and see the Entrepreneurship Institute? What I tell them is it's because there's something very special going on here today. And if you go back 70 years ago, the kingdom was completely different. No Jebel, billions, hundreds of billions of dollars of infrastructure didn't exist. So in the short time span of 70 years, the Saudis built a tremendous infrastructure that supplies the whole world with energy. If you, as a young Saudi, can imagine that you want to manufacture things, I can imagine 70 years from now, I won't be coming back. I'll be a little too old. But maybe one of my kids will come back and talk about the day that a student asked a question and went on to build some great device that doesn't exist yet. So you can do it. Your ancestors did it in 70 years. By the time you retire, you can do it too. Thank you very much.
Thank you.